Hey, what's up? We're the Burgerines. Welcome to our channel.
He's Mark, I'm Brenda. We've been shooting weddings since 2011, and today we're going to share some wedding photography tips for beginners. Things we wish we had known, things that have been really important as we've built our business. Hope you learned something.
Let's get into it.
Some of our tips today are going to be more soft skills and some are going to be more hard skills. So see if you can figure out who cares more about what. Tip number 1, know that the more you care about your client, the better photographer you'll be. It sounds simple, but this is really important because the more you care, the more of yourself you're going to put into your work, the harder you're going to work, the more effort you're going to exert, and the better your photos are going to turn out. In all the years that we've shot, even from the very beginning, we've never come away from a wedding with nothing. We've never had not a single photo to deliver. There may have been times that we wanted to do better, but if you're working hard, you're gonna have great photos. And that's something that you'll learn as you go on, is that you can't really screw it all up. Don't focus on that. Focus on creating and moving forward. Don't focus on, oh my gosh, I missed that moment. Focus on the moments that are happening right in front of you. And that's something that caring about your client will help you do. If I care about my client, I'm gonna be engrossed in the moment. I'm gonna be fully present and I'm gonna be trying to capture moments and tell a story about what's happening. That mindset will help me not worry about what I'm missing. Our second tip is this: either memorize the shot list or throw it out the window. It's important that something that's supposed to be a tool doesn't get in the way of you creating your best work. If you found this video, it might mean that you're out there searching about wedding photography tips for beginners. And there's a lot of information out there about, here's the shot list. Wedding photography tip, take this picture, 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 this picture. And that shot list is just gonna overwhelm you. And you're gonna be so focused on not missing something on that list that you're gonna miss the real moments, the beautiful moments, the things that make a wedding worthwhile. And so it's good to know what happens during a wedding. It's good to know that there's a first kiss. It's good to know that there's speeches so that you can be prepared for these types of things. But once you know kind of the layout of the wedding and you know what to expect, get rid of a piece of paper, throw it out, rip it up, whatever you want to do, burn it, and instead focus on being in the moment, being present. Shot lists, Pinterest boards, these types of things are tools that have just become... It's one thing to have inspiration from something like Pinterest or shot lists or Instagram for that matter. It's another thing to make that this bar of expectation that you're going to meet. A lot of times, if somebody makes a Pinterest board, every single photo was taken at sunset. It's not sunset for 10 hours a day. That's just not the truth. And so we have to be wary of these things like Pinterest board. We have to be wary of these things like portfolios and the highlight reel that we see in people's Instagram feed, and know that it's not gonna be all day that you're gonna have the best photos. It's not gonna be every moment that's gonna be perfect. And if we are too busy focused on being perfect all the time, we're not going to be able to make good work.
Tip number 3, keep it light and simple. When it comes to gear, having too much will bog you down. When you're first starting out, I recommend keeping it super simple. One camera, maybe 2 lenses. Having too much gear will bog you down and make you distracted and not focusing on capturing the moment. We find that if you keep it super simple with just that one camera, one lens setup for the majority of the day, it just helps you free up all that energy and creativity to focus on the people, the place, and really capturing that to the best of your ability. We've even found that over the last 9 years, as we add more equipment to our bag, we sometimes choose a simpler setup because it allows us to be more creative. And sometimes when you walk into a room or a setting and you have that complicated lighting setup in your mind, you forget that just maybe a simple bounce flash could look nicer than your 4-light dance floor setup. We've also found that keeping things simple so that you can just have your camera equipment on your body, whether that's on your belt, camera strap, in a backpack, something light and simple that you can keep with you and just move, allows you to be in more places and not get distracted with dragging your equipment around or setting things up, changing lenses. If you can just stay focused on the moment and the people, you'll capture more and really better photos than if you're bogged down by equipment. And down in the description below, I'll put a link to my minimalist wedding photography kit. That's like a super simple, super basic setup that I think would be a good start for somebody. Tip number 4 is learn about light. The great thing about learning about light is that you will improve your photos dramatically if you learn how to see it. And I mean, when I say see it, I mean learning about the direction, the intensity, the color. Is it soft light? Is it hard light? Is it window light or some kind of indoor incandescent or fluorescent light? It's really important to see all those characteristics when you start observing light. With our style of photography, we're often working outdoors, and we find that the best light happens around sunset. You might have heard golden hour. Usually it's that 1 hour period, roughly, between when the sun gets low in the sky and when it sets. And the same thing happens in the morning. It rises, and then you've got about an hour of nice light. And that's just because it comes from a nice low angle. It's not as intense, and it has a warm glow to it that often looks really nice in photos. The other thing to notice when you're looking at light is to look for shadow or lack of light. And that's important because the contrast creates the shape in photos. So if it's all just directly front lit, it doesn't have as much depth. If you can see light and shadow, it gives things more shape. The other thing to look at is dynamic range. So that's the difference between the brightest brights and the darkest shadows. So you want to use that to your advantage, and some cameras can capture a broader dynamic range and some don't have as much, but just making sure that you're aware of that so that you know what your camera is capable of capturing and that you use that to your advantage. The thing that people start to think about when they photograph weddings is a flash. You'll need it in the evening time when things get dark and you need to illuminate your subject. But a lot of times people will encourage you to get a fancy setup. And I think when you're just starting out, putting an on-camera flash and learning how to rotate it around and bounce it off of walls or ceilings will really help you create some nice light, but keep it super simple. It moves with you. You don't have to move light stands or anything. You just have it right there on your camera. And if all else fails, you can always pull up that little bounce card, angle it slightly forward, and you'll get an on-camera flash look, but at least you'll have properly exposed photos. And I think that getting too complicated at first can overwhelm you, and there's just too many variables to worry about. Sometimes just putting it on automatic and learning how to rotate the head of the flash will really help you get started with those evening shots. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about lighting, flash, and shooting outdoors, we've got some more tips. We'll put a link to some blog posts and other videos in the description.
Tip number 5 is something that we say quite a lot around here. Pick one goal at a time. I have a tendency to be pretty hard on myself, and I'm trying to do it all, which means I do nothing. If we pick one goal at a time, that's something that we can focus on, that's something that we can measure. Creativity sometimes means trying something new, even if it fails. It means taking risks. It means pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. And I definitely encourage you to do that, but maybe not all day long. Maybe not the entire wedding, you're stressing yourself out by trying to be more and more creative. Maybe you pick one moment where, hey, I'm gonna push myself out of my comfort zone for this shot. And you focus on that and you make that really profitable. And then maybe you step back and you say, hey, I'm really comfortable in this scenario. I'm gonna allow myself to be comfortable and create good work from that place. And so we're allowing ourselves to push ourselves while also doing what we're already good at. If we don't let ourselves do what we're already good at and we're always trying to do things we're not good at yet, then we're not going to be using our skills that we've already developed. One goal at a time is especially helpful with things that are more technical. So if I'm trying to learn off-camera flash and I suddenly, out of nowhere, start using off-camera flash all day long, every picture I take, it's going to be really overwhelming, really stressful, and I'm going to get bogged down by the gear or by the technical aspect of it. Whereas if I say, okay, I'm going to introduce off-camera flash in this one portion of the day, and I'm going to perfect that, and I'm going to practice that, it's going to be less stressful, and I'm going to have more chance of success. When you're just beginning as a wedding photographer, as we've said all throughout this video, it's important to keep things simple. It's important to throw away things that are going to distract you. And at the same time, when you're just beginning, you have a lot to learn. And so it helps if you choose one goal, one thing you're going to get better at this week or today. Focus on that, perfect that, and then move on to the next.
Now that we've gone through all 5 tips, I have one bonus tip for you, and that's to buy used instead of new. So a lot of people will recommend whatever camera, it's the latest and greatest, but I encourage you to check out a couple generations back, whatever the top of the line camera was. Like say for example, we're currently using the A7 Mark III, which is the latest version, but if you're just getting started and you have a limited budget, I would encourage you to check out say like the A7 Mark II or the A7. Those were both top of the line cameras from a few years ago, and people were using them to do some of the best work that's out there. They were shooting magazine covers and everything you can imagine on those cameras. They're incredibly capable, but you can find them used at a discount, which will save you money, but you can still be using that top of the line equipment. So to compare that, if you shopped with the same budget, you might get a lower grade camera with all the latest features, but that camera isn't going to be as capable as what you would get for the same money if you shop used. But to summarize, the best used camera is better than a new mid-grade camera.
Wedding photography tips for beginners. Number 1, know that caring about your couple makes you a better photographer, so don't undervalue that. Number 2, memorize the shot list or just throw it away. 3, keep it simple and light. 4, learn about light. And 5, focus on one new goal at a time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out the description below for all the info that we mentioned in this video. Also, hit us up in the comments and let us know what one goal you're going to be working on when you shoot your next wedding.